to a website of another school's football team and post as another kid that I hate these kids, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and suddenly I have a football team from another school coming after me. It's that kind of thing, and that's kind of a flip example, but it's a real example, is that the internet's a big place, and there are a lot of little niches that you can go where you can make some enemies if you say the wrong thing, and if you say that as another person, you're asking for trouble. Like I said, it may be kind of an extreme example, but when I think about bullying and I think about how far it can go, just kind of draw to that conclusion. So who are cyberbullies? And Brian talked about this a little bit. The motivations that lead kids to do this are a little different than the playground bully or the bully from sports teams. And there are 4 types. This isn't necessarily exclusive, but there are 4 general types that we think about when we talk about the people that do cyberbullying. And these are the 4 categories. The first is the inadvertent bully, and that's the kid that doesn't really know better. They're still learning those character skills, and they think it's fun because they have access to this technology, they know how to do it, and they're just sort of messing with people. Obviously, we have to educate those kids, but it is sort of just the uninformed, kind of trying to get their legs in the world of technology and making some poor choices. Mean girls. As I said, this is more common among girls than it is among boys. And this is probably the closest it comes to a real-life interaction. This is the same group that's going to sit around their lockers and make fun of somebody else, but now they're doing it online, and they're using chat rooms, and they're using texting to kind of make the same issues. The revenge seeker. The revenge seeker is maybe the technology-savvy kid who is sort of doesn't fit in with his other classmates or her other classmates because they take to this world. Well, now that everybody else is kind of coming to the technology party, they feel like they have an advantage, and they use that. Again, sometimes they just want to show off what they know, and it isn't necessarily malice, but it's just uninformed decisions. But again, it's just a different motivation than maybe a playground bully would have. And then the avenging angel. And the avenging angel could also be a tech-savvy kid who sees another kid being made fun of, and he targets those kids that are going after that child. And that's more common than you think. I don't have statistics on what percentage that is, but it is common for a kid to think, well, you know what, I'm going to stand up for this kid, and I'm going to do it using technology because I know how to do that. But again, it's a poor choice, and it can go too far rather quickly.
One of the scary things with the internet right now and with bullying is the use of YouTube and Google Tube, same thing. All those environments where you can put videos on. And what we're finding is, I can film any of you guys doing whatever, and I could put it on in a matter of seconds onto YouTube, and it could be up there for, let's just say, and this is situations that happened in St. Louis last year. There was a fight in a playground over spring break, and they videotaped it, beating up a student and kids, put it on YouTube, and so now not only did the kid get beat up, all the people in this school and in that district were able to see the fight on YouTube. And so, it's just taking harassment and bullying to the next level to say, okay, not only do we want to beat you up in person, we want everybody who wasn't there to see it. And what I think, this group is working on is a great thing in terms of the character behind it. Those kids should internalize that situation and understand that no matter if it's A, you shouldn't fight, but B, if something happened that was inappropriate, you certainly shouldn't promote it to everybody like it's something that's special out there, and put down that kid even more.
Okay, so how students deal. One of the points that I made initially was that a lot of times they'll talk to their friends before they'll talk to their parents about that. And part of the reason for that is because they do have strategies for policing themselves. And their first reactions, this is again from that Harris Interactive poll from last fall, their first reactions to cyberbullying. 1, change their email address. It's not like me who's had the same Yahoo mail address for about 15 years and I don't want to let it go. They change them pretty quickly. My niece has changed it 3 times in the last year just because, either spam or people get the hold of it. But they're pretty quick to just say, let's just cut this off here. 2, they can block the bully from communication. There are ways in some of these programs to block messages coming in from someone. If they're getting a message from someone, they block them off. 3, they refuse to pass along messages. So again, they sort of police themselves, they sort of close ranks around the bully, and that would also be telling their friends not to do this. So I don't want to make it sound like there isn't a lot of good character being displayed with this technology. I think there is. And I think there's ways that kids sort of are growing with this and learning what's right and wrong.
One of the important things on here to talk about is the number 3, the reduce and pass along messages, is not just a kid problem. It's an adult problem.
Yep.
Because, you know, when adults talk about other adults and then they send the message on to another adult, it's the same thing as when we're talking when kids are doing it. And so it's creating good character for everybody. And when you get an email, you know, electronic communication, the forward button, you know, should be everybody's worst enemy. And you shouldn't use it, but people do. They hit forward and boom. Instantly, whatever I wrote to Andy, and he's like, wow, can you believe Brian said this about his superintendent? And I can only say that because the superintendent's not here right now. Or let's do better. Can you believe Andy said about his superintendent? Because he is here. And then I forwarded on to somebody else. Now, you know, you're just perpetuating the problem that we're trying to get kids not to do.
Now, the next point after these strategies is talking to their parents or talking to a teacher about it. And that's when things get serious because they've taken that step. So in terms of parent strategies, when you're faced with a situation like this, there are a few simple points. One is obviously take your child seriously. It's so hard with technology because you don't know who to blame. Is it the tool? Is it the bullies coming in? Save the digital evidence. And I don't want to take a point from you here, but it's one thing to print out the email, and yes, having that in hand is great, but actually having the digital file still in the email that they can go to. There's information in that file that they can use to find out when it was sent, where it was sent, and it's just, if it's to the point where the child's being harassed, their life's being threatened, violence is being threatened against them, and you feel like you need to take it to the authorities, that's a really important thing to have, is that digital evidence. Talk to the authorities again. Don't wait. Get them involved, and then watch for emotional distress.
First of all, I appreciate the fact that with a group like this, I'm kind of preaching to the choir, because these are people who are going to be involved in their children's lives and their community's lives, and that's what we need. In particular, you know, instilling these 6 pillars, that what character counts is all about, is greatly important in the cyber world, because this is where those values will truly be tested, because there's not a lot of monitoring that's going on. So most of the control has to be instilled in the child and the active user. And if these things are there, they're going to do the right thing. They're going to, you know, visit places that are appropriate for them. They're not going to pass along stuff. If this hasn't been set up for them before they enter into that world, they're going to be overwhelmed. Just to be, so people are aware, when we talk about the internet, most people understand desktop, laptop, cell phone. Particularly for school-age children, you have to be aware that you're also talking about the Xbox, the PlayStation, the portable PlayStation, and the Wii, because they all have the ability to connect to the internet, and you can chat with other players. And it might be school-age children, it might not be. And they can bully and they can harass in the game too, and they can prevent people from being part of the game. So it's an area that parents really need to be aware of. In terms of what the police department sees in terms of crime, we have seen acts of violence videotaped and posted. We've seen cases where, in getting ready for this, I also reached out to our school resource officers at the middle school and the high school to find out what their experiences were. At the high school level, predominantly it revolves around cell phones and text messaging. In the lower grades, then we start to see more of the profiles and the social networks and things like that. And like you mentioned, there have been phony profiles where they, you know, set somebody up and they'll either make fun of them that way or not. A large part of it is spreading rumors and excluding the other students. One of the more disturbing things are self-produced videos and profiles that, you know, talk about hate and violence. And fortunately for us, in the investigative part of that, when they post that kind of stuff, that allows us to, you know, prevent things from happening. And going along with the characters, other students noticing that or becoming aware of that, where kids are talking about committing violence and specifically targeting certain kids,